Who can say but this? The ceaseless, senseless flow of time is just a rush
of ethereal wind, as the disk of a vast vitoscope is turned by unseen hands. Our journeys played back and forth for
Our
a cosmic
journeys
child.
played back and forth for a cosmic child.
All right, everybody, we are back on Play It Forward today with Arthur Vincie, filmmaker, writer, director. The short we'll be talking about today is Cosmic Playtester, a very big piece of work in terms of the themes. What is the meaning of all this? Arthur Vincie, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really look forward to talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Can you introduce yourself as a filmmaker to the audience and then set up Cosmic Playtester a little bit?
Sure thing. So my name is Arthur Vincie. I am based in New York. I've been in this field for longer than I will admit to. And over the course of many years, I've worked as a writer, director, made a number of short films, 2 feature films, web series, and I've also worked on a lot of other people's projects as a production manager or line producer mostly. But I've also had lots of other sort of odd jobs here and there. Post supervisor. I was a payroll accountant for a kids TV show.
All right, cool.
I just got started as a PA like everybody and did my time in those trenches. I've also written a book on pre-production for independent filmmakers based on
Wow.
my experiences. And for a while, I was teaching production management at Montclair State University and at the sadly defunct UArts in Philadelphia.
Okay, awesome. So you've got plenty of experience. You've done the range of
I don't know
like
about that.
having to, make it in the industry, doing whatever you can, juggling very, very a lot of hats. And I know like a lot of the filmmakers out there can totally relate to what that's like. It just kind of goes with the business. And then in terms of the writing and the directing and the film that we're going to be talking about today, Cosmic Playtester, can you tell us a little bit about the storyline? What is it?
Cosmic Playtester is about a man who has just lost his best friend, who is also his boss at a game company that he works for, a tabletop board game company. And he is the main character is a professional playtester. So he spends all day like testing prototype games out and rendering an opinion about whether they're playable, whether they suck, whether they should go back for more editing. Him and his coworker are basically trying to deal with the fact that they just lost their best friend while also playtesting the game company's latest submission. Probably
Great.
not the best
No.
circumstance for evaluating a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and then that leads into further. So that's like the basic plot, and then that leads into further questions about the meaning of life and one of the and the best friend is and one of his coworker is an alien. So that's
Right. Yeah, I was going to mention that.
not really a plot twist. I mean, it kind of going in pretty fast. So
I definitely appreciated what you're tackling and the themes and loss and grief and human suffering and what is the purpose of it? I mean, that is, something that we as humans have been trying to reconcile with for as long as we could think or feel, probably even precognition to some extent. And, survival entails so much suffering. And we work on a cognitive level, on a spiritual, emotional level, to try to make sense of what the point is. So, not being afraid to do that as an artist is, something that I really applaud and commend, to wrestle with
Thank
that
you.
question. Absolutely. And how did you come to that question and decide, all right, yeah, I'm gonna tackle this in this format with this playtester gamer guy who loses his best friend and tries to really sit with himself in his skin very
Mm.
much.
So I think, like a lot of work, certainly my work, it's related to something that's happening in my life or something that has happened in my life, that I'm trying to process. I guess the films themselves are ways to process what you're dealing with. I think a lot of artists of different media would probably say something similar. Um,
For
so in
sure.
that case, so the surface origins of the project were that Sherry Berman and Chris Banker, a couple of other filmmakers, and I all got together in 2015 and said, and I believe it was Sherry's idea. The idea was we were going to make a web series with each of us directing an episode, and because we were all different people with different ideas and different schedules, it was going to be tied together very loosely by the idea that this framing device would be aliens visiting Earth. So, and so we all went off on our own and wrote scripts, and then we would each kind of crew. The plan was each of us would crew as necessary on each other's projects and support each other. We all got super busy. We all wrote different scripts. This was the one that I came up with, and I, and so the web series didn't end up coming together. Although I believe that some of the folks in the group have made their own shorts since then. I kind of put the script to one side. The story itself was informed, I think, by some stuff I was going through with my mother at the time. She had had a so in 2015 she was going through several health crises and just one after the other. And um, you start to um, realize, you're not gonna live forever, and what is the meaning of this? Um, and I think honestly, I'm kind of glad I didn't make it in 2015. I had also had too much other things going on, like everybody else in the group. So many years went by. Now it's 2019. I am kind of losing my mind because I had made a web series in the meantime. The web series came out in late 2016 called Three Trembling Cities, and it had gone on like its festival arc and its PR arc, and it was not, I couldn't, there was nowhere for it to go if I wasn't going to make a second season. And so it's 3 years later, and I'm like, I need to make something. And I took the script. My mother had passed away in the meantime in 2017, so I had a different perspective on it. So I took the script out of storage and looked at it again and tweaked it, and then like um, got the cast together who I'd wanted to work with for some time, and uh,
Yeah.
and so that's how it all kind of came together.
Yeah. I mean, and
Uh,
that puts it even more into context. It's really not just wrestling with the theme of like what is life about, but what is death about, and
yeah.
what's
Oh
the
yeah.
point of life in the face of death. And the question, or the answer that the main character comes to, who goes to poetry as a source of inspiration and knowledge. I think I wrote it down correctly. Who can say but this, the ceaseless, senseless flow of time is just a rush of wind as ethereal wind. It's just a rush of wind and ethereal wind as a disc of a vast vitascope. I had to look up what vitascope is. That's a film projector.
Yeah.
Um, is turned by unseen hands. Our journeys play back and forth for a cosmic child, or perhaps these clanking crude machines we sometimes love but don't wear so well are yet more delightful than the fiery furnaces of the heavens. So this, the mindset of this character, at least, or the poet, right? And the poet that the character is referencing is one of it sets up the question already as well. It's pointless. This unknown is just a rush of wind. It's just a
Right.
passing gas. And a lot of certainly artists and great thinkers have come to this crux where, okay, well, this came out of some random formation. So it's either order came from order, or order came from chaos
Hmm.
and is now here spontaneously. So that's the big question, right? Did order come from order? Did order come spontaneously arise? And now we're just kind of going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the question. And I think here, what I'm finding in this particular script is faith. Where does faith lie
Hmm.
in this character's mindset? Because he does say something about the fiery furnaces of heavens, more delightful. There is a comparison. There's just that touch of comparison to something divine. What's your feeling now as a creator who's stepped away and you're become the viewer, the consumer? Where is this character at with regards to the question of faith and meaning?
Oh boy. So yeah, personally, I'm an atheist, although strangely, I keep making movies where faith is a big question. Um, found in the last feature I made had some underpinnings that you could ascribe to like Buddhism, or this idea of cyclical time, or samsara. This idea of too much to go into right now. But anyway,
Mm.
so
No, I'm
and my
familiar
first,
with that. I'm
yeah,
familiar with samsara. That's the perpetuation of karma.
yeah. So like, the idea is if you're on the wheel of time,
Hmm.
um, and I'm going to butcher this very badly, so hopefully the Buddhists don't at me. But the idea is, you are, yeah, you are perpetuating karma. So like the it's not a goal, but I guess the escape from that is to go from samsara to nirvana, where you're outside of time, where your karma is evened out. You're back in the um, and daily life could be regarded as samsara because things
Yes.
happen over and over again, and you're
Yes.
you're making more of it. Um, uh,
Yeah, and the
but
causality, the cause and
yeah,
reactions in our, egocentric identities and all that getting involved in um, creating more of the Maya, which is the illusion.
right, right, right. So that what we think of as reality is really an illusion. So I think cosmic is a little bit different. It's not really asking that question about time or nature of existence, but more about whether there is any meaning to things that are random. I'm personally, I guess I'm a big believer in emergence. So like you can have random processes that are obeying or processes that are obeying very strict mechanical rules, and then when they interact together they produce higher order phenomenon, so that rather than there being some kind of top-down design to the universe,
Mhm.
the order, as you put it, like emerges out of the interactions between lower level phenomenon. I even hate using those lower higher things because it kind of hierarchicalizes
Mhm.
stuff a bit.
Mhm.
But the idea is that, um, but then what do you do with that? Like, okay, so if everything is chaos ultimately, or if there is no like sort of preset purpose to things, then what does that mean? Do our actions have any meaning? When you lose somebody in your life, um, you know, what do you how does it it's almost beyond words. Like grief can exist in a place that you can't really talk about very well. Um, so what do you do with that? How does and it also reminds you that your time on this in this world is finite, and you don't know what's going to happen to you afterwards. Um, and also, what is the meaning of the things that you're doing right now? Like, will it have any meaning after you're gone? Obviously, as an artist, I worry about that. I keep hoping, somebody will remember my work a long time from now. But so then, and I think the the conclusion that the playtester comes to is
Yeah.
that the play or the activity is the point on some level. I don't know if I am expressing it that well, but the idea is that, you're here, be here. Like,
Yeah.
you're here, you're creating meaning through just being here. And so, and that can be, it's not always a pleasant experience, but the idea is that um, that may be the point.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
exist, to exist is the point, and you can make your own meaning. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm articulating it that
Yeah,
well,
you
but
are, because it's not even in the articulation. The meaning is in behind the words, and the weight that they carry to people who are really listening. And doing my best to listen, what I'm hearing is a couple things. One is committing to the game. Let's just
Mhm.
say it's a game. Let's say it's a cosmic game.
Yeah, a cosmic game, yeah.
you know, but to commit to the game, irrespective of the outcome. So the attachment to the fruit,
Mhm.
irrespective of the our particular feeling about where we're at in the moment. There's something in committing to the game and playing it within the best way we can, the best way we can show up, not even to win, but there's that act of commitment that I'm really hearing. And that act of commitment is the winning, is the showing
Yeah,
up. And the act of commitment, I mean, there's I can't help going back to that faith, that even because it is committing to something
yeah,
unknown, which is, an act of faith.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
the
I mean,
the
even,
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Please. No, you
No,
go
I
ahead.
mean, even the alien, she's, she's been around for longer than Robbie.
Right.
Even she's has the same questions, you know,
Yeah.
even with her experience and
Right.
the depth of
Right.
her experience
Right.
and her species knowledge
Right.
of the way things work, presumably she's just as, clueless maybe, or
The question
as,
remains.
yeah, I mean, she has maybe better insight because she's been through this more times, losing people that she cares about.
Yeah.
But that only takes you so far. It's still, grief and figuring out the what meaning there is in loss. I think that's something that no matter how many times you go through it, you still have to
Yeah.
go through it. I think the
Yeah.
only thing that helps is that that there will be hopefully a point after the grief, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Life goes on, in other words, but beyond that, yeah, like nothing can really, it is an act of faith. I made another faith movie. God damn it.
Can't help it.
Keep doing it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I don't know if you're a recovering atheist, or there's got to be some right way to put that.
I Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be lying to myself about my true faith, but yeah, I
Yeah.
have to admit that
Yeah.
that's possible. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, the closest thing I had to a religious upbringing was my mother was a recovering Catholic.
Ah,
Uh, my very first movie, my very first feature film, the main character is a Catholic who's trying to reconcile his faith with his experiences and his dealing with his past, his family history.
hmm.
Um, so obviously, it's something I think about. And
Yeah.
my mom, she rejected the clerical, the oppressive nature of the church, but I think she never lost her belief in God
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think especially since she went to Catholic school for like 12
Yeah.
years, that
Yeah.
doesn't that stays with you on some
Yeah.
level or
I
another.
bet. I bet.
Um, you know,
The other thing that I don't want to mention that I hear is the grief again that you're talking about, and wrestling with grief and how it brings up all these questions. And when we do go through these periods of grief, it does create something within us that when we are able to be on the other side of the intensity of suffering and pain and the
Mhm.
attachment to the person and our own feeling and the crushing wound that it leaves us. There is something that it leaves that allows us to appreciate life more in some context. I think that's a common feeling that we as humans go through. And that is, also something that the playtester talks about, going through this delight. Even this
Mm.
delight in is something so unique to our particular finite nature on this planet, being able to experience our humanness.
Oh yeah, that's really well said. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. Um, I guess the last question, we've talked about the meaning. I want to, and I really appreciate, I guess one thing I should say before moving on to the last question, as an artist, I totally get like, you seem to me like you're in two very prominent places. One is creating art and recognizing that is part of your own evolutionary process, as a part of your own reconciling with beingness. And of course, you want that beingness to have an impact. And I'll say, I do not doubt that that beingness is having an impact now. Your art is impacting you and others now as you impact others, passing people by on the street, millions of, in a given 2-week period or whatever it is in New York City. I mean, you're constantly interacting with others, and therefore that beingness that you're cultivating, my belief is there's no doubt that that is extending beyond yourself, and that has a great purpose. That is the purpose. That's kind of the purpose of playing the game of art in my kind of estimation. Anything you'd like to add or say in response or rebuttal?
No, I mean, I think, you have you make that's another great point. I mean, I hadn't thought about it that way. I mean, yes, I definitely, um, I mean, I think the filmmaker, the my filmmaking activities, um, I'm not sure how positive an impact they've had on the people closest to me because it means I'm not with them and I'm spending a lot of money that I don't sometimes that I don't really have. Belongs to Visa and MasterCard. It's very
Right.
expensive money.
You're not alone.
Um, yeah, exactly, right. It certainly influenced. It certainly led to breakups and dissolutions of friendships in the past. But hopefully, yeah, like hopefully the work at the end of the day and also the experience of being with working with such fantastically talented people, my cast and crew or the cast and crew that I work with are so great. I have to always shout out to them.
Absolutely.
Um, so, though that is the flip side, I guess, the
Yeah.
positive side of it. And then, yeah, you go to a festival or you get every now and then I get comments from folks who've had a good experience watching something I made, and that's great. I'm really glad. I'm glad it's doing something.
Yeah. Yep.
We often feel very powerless in the world. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. Hey, and you're not alone there either.
yeah, right.
Um, and that's a key statement. That's taking power to act and committing to the game. Very much.
Yeah.
Arthur Vincie, how have you been personally changed since making Cosmic Playtester?
Um. Okay, that's a good Yeah, it's a very good question. So, initially, the response to the film was a lot of radio silence. Like festivals were, I may have just caught, festivals work on these weird rhythms, cultural rhythms. And so I think I made the film at a time when people just weren't, did not want to deal with this. And it was 2019, right? So it got rejected from a bunch of festivals. And then 2020, nobody wanted to deal with that because it was happening right in front of us. We were dealing with mass death and a lot of despair. Somehow or another, 2021 was when it started having a festival run. And so obviously just at the point where I'm thinking, Jesus, why am I even doing this?
What's the
What
point?
is the point? Nobody's going to watch this thing. But then it started getting on a festival run and started picking up a bit of an audience. And I just finally sort of decided to put it out like publicly on Vimeo recently, because I think, after a certain point, there's no point in like being exclusive with it. And so that has been good. It's also, some of what we were doing in the film, the split screen techniques, which were, some folks who've seen it thought that I was making some kind of commentary on Zoom, but I was doing this in 2019, and that wasn't where I was going with it at all. I was trying to make um, the film visually interesting. Something that's dialogue heavy can sometimes be just like a tennis match. So, and also I find that when the person is acting directly to camera, it can be kind of a bit um, confrontational in a good way. Like it can implicate the audience in what's going on. So those two ideas kind of came together. Ben Wolf, a cinematographer, really had some great ideas about shot composition, so we could always get them both facing towards camera at the same time, even when we weren't using split screen, and then framing the split screens right, so the right way. And he was, he's been my collaborator for more years than I want to admit. So so we bounce a lot of ideas about that. And so like being a little more free form visually has definitely influenced the way I think about future projects. So and I think, and also sort of sneaking some poetry in there as well is something I will probably do again. That was a crack on my part at writing poetry, and it turned out to be I think it turned out better than I thought it would. I've written poetry, but I don't consider myself a poet by any stretch. So writing those lines,
That's excellent.
And then and people have come back to me and said that they like that part, sort of those parts the best. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, good. Then I know maybe I can do this again in the future if the thing presents itself right, if the right project kind of comes together.
Excellent.
So yeah, like and then in a sort of deeper way, I think it did help me with figuring out how to feel about the death of my mother, and it's helped me gain some perspective. My partner, my spouse, has lost several members of her family in the last few years, and I think maybe she's one of the producers on the film, Debarati Biswas, and so I think maybe this has helped both of us a little bit. Sort of, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
hard to say, but maybe a little bit.
I love, I love how you said it helped you figure out how to think or feel about it, and, navigating the maze of our emotions and our cognitive room,
Mm.
is something that is enhanced when we do it in a physical way, in a
Oh
material
yeah,
way,
yeah, yeah.
you know. Arthur Vincie, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Filmmaker, writer, director. The film is Cosmic Playtester. Till next time, everybody, on Play It Forward.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great chat, and I can't wait to talk to you again and to see more episodes.
Thank you, Arthur. Looking forward to more of your work as well, and we'll share everything. And till next time, later. Talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur.
Bye.